One in every 570 homes in Cape Coral received a foreclosure filing in the third quarter of 2025. That's the third worst foreclosure rate in the entire nation. Not just Florida, the entire United States. According to ATTOM Data analysis, Lakeland ranks first at 1 in every 470 homes, and Cape Coral sits right behind at number 3. Florida doesn't just lead the nation in foreclosure rates, it dominates. 1 in every 814 housing units across the Sunshine State faced foreclosure in Q3 2025, the worst rate in America, and it's accelerating. Foreclosure starts jumped 16% year-over-year nationwide, but Florida recorded nearly 9,000 foreclosure starts in just 3 months. Behind the palm trees and pastel-colored dream homes, the Florida housing market isn't just cooling. It's cracking wide open. This isn't speculation. This is data. Realtor. Analysis confirms that 7 of Florida's 8 largest cities will experience price declines in 2026. Cape Coral and Fort Lauderdale are projected to see the largest metropolitan price drop in the entire country at negative 10.2%. That's not a dip. That's a collapse. Inventory has exploded. Insurance premiums have tripled in some markets. Days on market keep climbing. Sellers are slashing prices by tens of thousands of dollars just to attract buyers who have simply vanished. From coastal retreats to inland suburbs, the warning signs are flashing red across every major Florida market. In this countdown, we're exposing the top 10 Florida cities where the housing market will crash hardest in 2026. We're talking double-digit declines, inventory surges, foreclosure spikes, and insurance costs that are pricing out entire middle-class families. This breakdown is backed by data from Realtor.com, ATTOM, Cotality, and local market experts. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in Florida real estate, the next 20 minutes could save you from a financial disaster. Hit subscribe to Housing Intel right now and ring that bell, because this is the kind of market intelligence you won't find anywhere else. Number 10. Brownsville and Sebastian. Let's start at number 10 with 2 smaller but significant markets. Brownsville and Sebastian. These communities represent Florida's vulnerable Tier 2 markets, where affordability was supposed to be the selling point. But in 2025, affordability has turned into a warning sign. According to Cotality's December analysis, both Brownsville and Sebastian are experiencing year-over-year price declines between negative 4.6% and negative 4.8%. These aren't the headline-grabbing crashes yet, but they're the early tremors of a larger quake. Brownsville sits near Miami-Dade County, caught between high cost of living pressures and limited economic diversification. The median home price hovers around $340,000, but local household incomes average just $58,000 annually. That gap is unsustainable. Sebastian, located along Florida's Treasure Coast, faces similar dynamics. Once considered a quiet retirement haven, Sebastian has seen inventory climb steadily throughout 2025. Homes that used to sell in 30 days now sit for 70 to 90 days on average. Insurance costs are hammering both markets. In Sebastian, coastal flood insurance premiums now average $7,500 annually, and that's for homes outside the highest risk zones. Homeowners inside FEMA flood zones are paying $12,000 to $15,000 per year, and some can't find willing insurers at all. When insurance costs consume 15 to 20% of a monthly housing payment, buyers walk away, and they are walking away. Pending sales in both markets dropped over 20% year-over-year through Q3 2025. The pattern here is clear. These smaller markets lack the economic resilience of larger metros. When tourism slows, construction jobs dry up, and insurance costs spike. there's no safety net. Brownsville and Sebastian are canaries in the coal mine for Florida's Tier 2 cities. The correction has begun, and it's spreading fast. Number 9. Northport. Northport sits at number 9, and this Sarasota County city tells a brutal story of post-pandemic correction. Between 2020 and 2022, Northport home prices surged over 70% as remote workers and retirees flooded into Southwest Florida. The median home price peaked at $495,000 in mid-2022. By November 2025, that number had fallen to $395,000. That's a 20% decline from peak. 20%. Equity wiped out for anyone who bought near the top. Cotality data confirms Northport is facing significant price pressure heading into 2026, with projected declines between -5% and -8% year over year. Inventory has more than doubled. In October 2025, there were over 2,800 active listings in the Northport-Sarasota-Bradenton metro area, compared to just 1,200 listings at the same time in 2024. That's a 133% increase in supply. But buyer demand hasn't kept pace. Pending sales are down 32% year over year. Insurance is the silent killer here. Northport homeowners are now paying an average of $6,000 to $8,500 annually for homeowners insurance, and that doesn't include flood coverage for properties in coastal zones. Some neighborhoods near the Myakka River require separate flood policies costing an additional $4,000 to $7,000 per year. When you combine a 7% mortgage rate with insurance premiums that can exceed $800 monthly, affordability vanishes overnight. The construction boom has also backfired. Developers added over 4,000 new homes to Northport between 2021 and 2023, betting on endless demand. That bet failed. Now, builders are offering incentives that were unthinkable 2 years ago. $50,000 price cuts, paid closing costs, and mortgage rate buy-downs to 5%. These desperate measures are dragging down comparable sales across the board, creating a downward spiral that shows no signs of stopping. Northport isn't recovering anytime soon. It's just getting started on its descent. Number 8. Sebring. Number 8 brings us to Sebring, an inland city in Highlands County that's facing a uniquely brutal combination of economic stagnation and housing oversupply. Sebring was never a boom market like Miami or Tampa, but it experienced its own pandemic surge as buyers sought affordability away from the coast. Now, that surge has reversed violently. According to Cotality analysis, Sebring is projected to see price declines of -5.2% in 2026, one of the steepest drops among Florida's inland markets. The median home price in Sebring currently sits around $275,000, which sounds affordable. But median household income in Highlands County is just $48,000. That means the typical family would need to spend over 50% of their gross income on housing to afford the median home. That ratio is catastrophic. It prices out local workers, retirees on fixed incomes, and first-time buyers completely. Inventory has surged here, too. Active listings in Sebring jumped from 350 units in October 2024 to over 850 units in October 2025. That's a 143% year-over-year increase. Days on market have climbed from 45 days to 95 days. Price cuts are everywhere. Nearly 60% of active listings have reduced their asking prices at least once, with many cutting $20,000 to $35,000 just to generate interest. Sebring's economy relies heavily on agriculture, tourism tied to the Sebring International Raceway, and retirees. None of those sectors are booming right now. Agricultural revenues are stagnant. tourism remains inconsistent post-pandemic, and retirees are being priced out by insurance costs. Homeowners insurance in Sebring averages $4,200 annually, but properties built before 1990 often face premiums exceeding $6,500 due to outdated building codes and higher risk profiles. This is an inland market that was supposed to be insulated from coastal volatility. It's not. Sebring is sinking, and there's no economic engine strong enough to reverse it in 2026. Number 7. Punta Gorda. Punta Gorda lands at number 7, and this Charlotte County city is a textbook example of how coastal charm can't outrun economic reality. Punta Gorda became a magnet for retirees and second-home buyers during the pandemic, drawn by waterfront access, historic downtown vibes, and proximity to Fort Myers and Sarasota. But in 2025, the market has turned cold. Cotality data projects price declines of negative 6.2% for Punta Gorda in 2026, driven by inventory surges and collapsing buyer demand. The median home price in Punta Gorda peaked at $480,000 in early 2023. By October 2025, it had dropped to $425,000, a negative 11.5% decline. And it's still falling. Active listings have increased 110% year over year, while pending sales dropped 40%. Homes that used to sell in 20 days now sit for 80 to 100 days. Sellers are panicking, slashing prices by $40,000 to $70,000 to attract buyers who simply aren't there. Insurance costs are devastating this market. Punta Gorda sits on Charlotte Harbor, making it highly vulnerable to hurricanes and storm surge. Homeowners' insurance premiums average $7,800 annually, but waterfront properties can face premiums exceeding $15,000 per year. After Hurricane Ian in 2022, multiple major insurers pulled out of Charlotte County entirely. Homeowners are now forced into Florida's Citizens Property Insurance, the state-backed insurer of last resort, where premiums are 20 to 40% higher than the private market. And then there's the age of the housing stock. Much of Punta Gorda's housing was built in the 1980s and 1990s, before modern hurricane codes. Retrofitting older homes with impact windows, reinforced roofing, and updated electrical systems can cost $60,000 to $120,000. Many sellers can't afford the upgrades, and buyers won't touch properties without them. The result? Stagnation. Properties sit unsold, equity evaporates, and the market spirals downward. Punta Gorda still looks beautiful on postcards, but behind the waterfront views and historic charm, it's becoming a financial trap for anyone who bought at the peak. If you're starting to see the pattern here, smash that subscribe button to Housing Intel. We're only at number 7, and the next 3 cities are where the real devastation begins. Don't miss it. Number 6. Naples. Naples takes the number 6 spot, and this one might shock you. Naples has long been synonymous with luxury, wealth, and stability. It's home to some of Florida's most expensive real estate, pristine beaches, world-class golf courses, and a thriving high-income community. But in 2025, even Naples couldn't escape the correction. According to Cotality analysis, Naples is facing projected price declines of negative 6.7% in 2026, a stunning reversal for a market that was considered bulletproof. The median home price in Naples currently sits at $675,000, but that number masks massive volatility. Luxury properties priced above $2 million have seen the sharpest corrections, with some listings down 15 to 20% from their 2022 peaks. Inventory has surged across all price tiers. In October 2025, There were over 4,500 active listings in the Naples-Marco Island metro area, compared to 2,100 listings in October 2024. That's a 114% increase in supply. But here's the problem. Buyer demand has collapsed. High net worth buyers who fueled Naples's boom are pulling back. Mortgage rates above 7% have made financing expensive even for wealthy buyers who don't need loans but prefer liquidity. And insurance costs are crushing everyone. Naples homeowners now pay an average of $9,500 annually for homeowners insurance, and coastal properties can face premiums exceeding $25,000 per year when flood insurance is included. Hurricane Ian's impact still lingers. The storm devastated parts of Naples in September 2022, and the aftermath exposed how vulnerable even wealthy coastal communities are to climate risk. Insurance companies have responded by raising premiums, tightening underwriting standards, and refusing coverage for properties in the highest risk zones. Some luxury waterfront homes in Naples are now functionally uninsurable in the private market. The luxury market is also facing a demographic shift. Baby boomer retirees who drove demand for decades are aging out, and younger high-income buyers are choosing different markets like Texas, Tennessee, and the Carolinas, where taxes are lower and climate risks are less severe. Naples is losing its competitive edge, and the data proves it. Days on market have doubled from 45 days to 90 days. Price cuts are appearing on over 55% of active listings. Sellers who thought their Naples properties were immune to market downturns are learning a brutal lesson. Naples is no longer a safe haven. It's ground zero for luxury market correction, and 2026 will bring more pain. Number 5. Palm Bay. Palm Bay crashes in at number 5, and this Brevard County city is facing one of the most severe corrections in Florida. Cotality's December 2025 analysis identifies Palm Bay as a very high-risk market for price declines in 2026. Current data shows year-over-year price drops already exceeding 7%, and projections suggest declines could reach negative 8 to 10% by the end of 2026. Palm Bay's median home price currently sits around $350,000, which appears affordable compared to coastal markets. But median household income in Brevard County is just $62,000. The affordability gap is massive. Families are spending over 45% of gross income on housing, and that's before accounting for property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. It's unsustainable, and the market is reflecting that reality. Inventory has exploded. Active listings in Palm Bay have increased 160% year over year, jumping from fewer than 600 units in October 2024 to over 1,500 units in October 2025. New construction added fuel to the fire. Builders flooded Palm Bay with new developments between 2021 and 2023, adding over 3,500 new homes to the market. Demand never materialized at that scale. Now, builders are stuck with unsold inventory, slashing prices by $50,000 to $80,000 and offering incentives that gut profit margins. Insurance costs are catastrophic. Palm Bay sits on Florida's Atlantic coast, directly in the path of hurricane corridors. Homeowners' insurance premiums average $6,500 annually, but properties built before 2000 face premiums exceeding $9,500. Flood insurance adds another $3,500 to $6,000 per year for properties in FEMA zones. When insurance alone costs over $1,000 monthly, affordability evaporates. And then there's the foreclosure crisis. According to ATTOM Data, Brevard County recorded one of Florida's highest foreclosure rates in Q3 2025. Palm Bay alone accounted for a significant share of those filings. Families who bought at the peak in 2021 and 2022 are now underwater, owing more on their mortgages than their homes are worth. Many are simply walking away, adding to inventory and driving prices down further. Palm Bay is in free fall, and there's no floor in sight for 2026. Number 4. Lakeland. Lakeland takes the number 4 position, and this Polk County city has the unfortunate distinction of recording the worst foreclosure rate in the entire United States. According to ATTOM Data's Q3 2025 report, Lakeland had one foreclosure filing for every 470 housing units. That's not just the worst in Florida. That's the worst in America. Let that sink in. 1 in every 470 homes in Lakeland faced foreclosure in just 3 months. This isn't an accident. Lakeland experienced explosive growth during the pandemic as buyers fled Tampa and Orlando for affordability. Home prices surged 75% between 2019 and 2022, reaching a median of $385,000. But local incomes didn't keep pace. Median household income in Lakeland is just $56,000. The disconnect is staggering. Families are drowning in mortgage payments they can no longer afford, especially as adjustable-rate mortgages reset and insurance premiums spike. Cotality analysis projects price declines of -7 to 9% for Lakeland in 2026. Inventory has quadrupled. There are currently over 3,200 active listings in Lakeland, compared to fewer than 800 listings at this time last year. That's a 300% increase. Days on market have climbed from 35 days to 105 days. Over 60% of active listings have reduced prices at least once, with many cutting $30,000 to $50,000. Insurance is crushing homeowners here too. Lakeland homeowners pay an average of $5,200 annually for homeowners insurance. But properties in flood-prone areas near lakes and wetlands face premiums exceeding $8,500. And Lakeland has a lot of flood-prone areas. Much of the city's development sits on reclaimed wetlands, making flood insurance mandatory for most mortgages. That adds another $4,500 to $7,000 annually. The local economy is also vulnerable. Lakeland relies heavily on logistics, warehousing, and agriculture, sectors that are highly sensitive to economic slowdowns. As national retail sales soften and supply chains normalize post-pandemic, warehouse jobs are disappearing. Unemployment is creeping up, mortgage defaults are accelerating, and the housing market is collapsing under the weight of oversupply and weak demand. Lakeland isn't just declining, it's imploding, and 2026 will be even worse. Subscribe to Housing Intel right now if you want to stay ahead of market crashes like this. We're diving into the top 3 next, and these cities are facing the most catastrophic declines in the entire state. You need to see this. Number 3. West Palm Beach. West Palm Beach takes the number 3 spot, and this Palm Beach County powerhouse is experiencing a correction that few saw coming. West Palm Beach boomed during the pandemic as wealthy Northeasterners and finance professionals relocated for tax advantages and lifestyle. Home prices skyrocketed, luxury development sprouted everywhere, and the market felt invincible. But in 2025, reality hit hard. According to Realtor.com data, West Palm Beach is on track for significant price declines in 2026. Potentially reaching -8 to 9% year over year. The median home price in West Palm Beach currently hovers around $550,000, but that number is falling fast. Luxury condos and single-family homes priced above $1 million have seen the sharpest corrections, with some properties down 20% or more from their peaks. Inventory has surged. Active listings increased 125% year over year, and new construction continues flooding the market despite collapsing demand. insurance costs are decimating affordability. West Palm Beach homeowners now pay an average of $8,700 annually for homeowners insurance, and coastal properties face premiums exceeding $18,000 per year when flood coverage is included. After hurricanes in recent years, insurance companies have fled the market. State Farm, Farmers, and other major carriers have either pulled out of Florida entirely or stopped writing new policies in high-risk coastal zones. Homeowners are forced into Citizens Property Insurance, where premiums are 40 to 60% higher. West Palm Beach also faces a unique problem: overbuilding in the luxury segment. Developers bet that demand from New York and New Jersey transplants would be endless. It wasn't. High mortgage rates above 7% have made even wealthy buyers hesitant to take on expensive financing. Luxury buyers are also realizing that Florida's property taxes, insurance costs, and HOA fees can exceed $40,000 annually for high-end properties. That's eating into the tax savings that drew them to Florida in the first place. Days on market have more than doubled, from 40 days to over 95 days. Price cuts are appearing on nearly 60% of listings. Sellers who bought investment properties or second homes during the boom are now racing to exit before losses deepen. The market is oversupplied, underdemanded, and sinking fast. West Palm Beach looked like a winner in 2022. In 2026, it's a cautionary tale. Number 2. Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale slams into the number 2 position, and for good reason. Fort Lauderdale is part of the Cape Coral-Fort Lauderdale Metropolitan Statistical Area, which Realtor.com projects will experience the largest price decline in the entire United States in 2026 at negative 10.2%. That's not a typo, negative 10.2%. The worst in America. Fort Lauderdale's median home price peaked at $575,000 in mid-2022. By November 2025, it had fallen to $510,000, an 11% decline. And it's accelerating. Cotality analysis confirms Fort Lauderdale is in the very high-risk category for continued price declines through 2026. Inventory has exploded. Active listings increased 140% year over year. And new construction from the pandemic boom is still hitting the market. Insurance is the number 1 killer. Fort Lauderdale homeowners now pay an average of $10,200 annually for homeowners insurance, the highest in South Florida. Coastal properties face premiums exceeding $25,000 to $35,000 per year when flood and wind coverage are included. Some waterfront properties in Fort Lauderdale are completely uninsurable in the private market. Buyers can't get mortgages without insurance, so properties sit unsold indefinitely. Fort Lauderdale also faces severe climate risk. Sea level rise, king tide flooding, and hurricane exposure are no longer theoretical. Downtown Fort Lauderdale experiences street flooding multiple times per year during high tides, even without storms. Infrastructure upgrades are estimated to cost billions, and property owners will bear much of that burden through higher taxes and special assessments. The local economy is also softening. Tourism remains inconsistent. Cruise industry employment is below pre-pandemic levels, and remote workers who flooded Fort Lauderdale during COVID are leaving as companies mandate return-to-office policies. Demand is collapsing while supply continues surging. Days on market have jumped from 35 days to 110 days. Price cuts are appearing on over 65% of active listings, with many properties slashed by $75,000 to $125,000. Fort Lauderdale was the crown jewel of South Florida real estate. In 2026, it's ground zero for a regional collapse, and it shares that horrific distinction with the #1 market on this countdown. Number 1. Cape Coral. Cape Coral is #1, and it's not even close. Cape Coral isn't just facing a housing market correction. It's facing a full-scale collapse that will define Florida's real estate crisis for years to come. According to Realtor.com analysis, Cape Coral is part of the Coral-Fort Lauderdale metro area, projected to see negative 10.2% price declines in 2026, the worst in the United States. But Cape Coral's individual market data is even more devastating. ATTOM Data reports, Cape Coral had one foreclosure filing for every 589 housing units in Q3 2025, the third worst foreclosure rate in the entire nation. Only Lakeland and Columbia, South Carolina, rank higher. Cape Coral recorded over 1,000 foreclosure filings in just 3 months, a staggering number for a city of fewer than 200,000 people. Foreclosure starts jumped 28% year over year, and completed foreclosures surged 41%. Home prices in Cape Coral have already fallen 13% from their pandemic peak. The median home price peaked at $422,000 in mid-2022. By November 2025, it had crashed to $367,000. That's $55,000 of lost equity in just over 2 years. And the bleeding isn't over. Cotality analysis projects another negative 8 to 10% decline through 2026, which would push median prices below $330,000. Inventory is catastrophic. Cape Coral had fewer than 1,800 active listings in October 2023. By October 2025, that number exploded to nearly 4,000 active listings, a 122% increase. But that's just the beginning. Norada real estate data shows Cape Coral's housing inventory is 66% above the long-term market norm. The city is drowning in unsold homes. Days on market have more than doubled, from 38 days to 96 days. Over 70% of active listings have reduced their asking prices at least once, with many cutting $50,000 to $100,000. New construction has backfired spectacularly. Between 2020 and 2023, developers added over 12,000 new homes to Cape Coral, betting on endless demand from retirees and remote workers. That demand evaporated. Builders are now stuck with thousands of unsold units. To move inventory, they're offering incentives that were unthinkable 2 years ago: $80,000 price cuts, paid closing costs, mortgage rate buydowns to 4.75%, free pools, free upgrades worth $40,000. These desperate fire sale tactics are dragging down comparable sales across the entire market, creating a death spiral. Insurance costs are absolutely crushing Cape Coral homeowners. The average annual homeowner's insurance premium is $7,700, but that's just the baseline. Properties in flood zones, which includes most of Cape Coral due to its extensive canal system, require separate flood insurance costing an additional $4,500 to $8,000 annually. Combined, homeowners can easily pay $12,000 to $15,000 per year just for insurance. When you add property taxes of $4,000 to $6,000, HOA fees, and maintenance, the carrying costs are unsustainable. And here's the nightmare scenario. Many Cape Coral homeowners can't find insurance at any price. After Hurricane Ian in 2022, major carriers like State Farm and Farmers exited the Florida market entirely. Homeowners are forced into Citizens Property Insurance, where premiums are 50 to 80% higher than the private market. Some properties, especially older homes built before modern hurricane codes, are being denied coverage altogether. No insurance means no mortgage, which means no buyers. Cape Coral's economy is also collapsing. The city's economy is built on construction, real estate, and service industries tied to tourism and retirees. All three sectors are in free fall. Construction jobs have dropped 32% year over year as new projects halt. Real estate employment is down 27% as transactions dry up. And retirees on fixed incomes are being priced out by insurance costs and property taxes. The economic engine that powered Cape Coral's growth is sputtering. Median household income in Cape Coral is just $65,000, but the median home price is $367,000. That's a 5.6 times income-to-price ratio, well above the sustainable threshold of 3 to 4 times. Add in mortgage rates above 7%, insurance costs of $1,000 monthly, and property taxes, and the typical Cape Coral family would need to spend over 55% of gross income on housing. That's not affordability. That's financial devastation. Cape Coral also faces long-term structural problems that won't disappear when interest rates eventually fall. The city's canal system, once a selling point, is now a massive liability. Maintaining canals, dealing with saltwater intrusion, and managing flood risk costs the city millions annually, and those costs are passed to property owners through taxes and assessments. Sea level rise is a real threat. Parts of Cape Coral are less than 6 feet above sea level, and projections show significant portions of the city could face regular tidal flooding within 20 years. Climate risk is no longer theoretical. It's baked into insurance premiums, property values, and buyer behavior. Savvy buyers are avoiding Cape Coral entirely, and institutional investors who bought thousands of properties during the boom are now dumping inventory at losses just to exit the market. When the smart money runs, it's a clear signal. Cape Coral isn't just the #1 market on this countdown. It's the epicenter of Florida's housing crash. It's ground zero for a collapse that will ripple across the entire state. Foreclosure rates are among the worst in America. Inventory is 66% above normal. Prices have already fallen 13% and are projected to drop another 8 to 10% in 2026. Insurance costs are pricing out middle-class families, and the local economy is in free fall. If you bought a home in Cape Coral at the peak in 2022, you're likely underwater right now, owing more than your home is worth. If you're thinking about buying in Cape Coral in 2026, the data is screaming at you to wait. This market has further to fall, and catching a falling knife is how fortunes are lost. From number 10 to number 1, the pattern is undeniable. Florida's housing market isn't just cooling, it's collapsing. 7 of the state's 8 largest cities are projected to see price declines in 2026. Cape Coral and Fort Lauderdale are leading the nation in price drops at negative 10.2%. Foreclosure rates across Florida are the worst in America, with Lakeland and Cape Coral posting rates not seen since the 2008 financial crisis. Inventory has exploded across every major market, surging 100 to 200% year over year in most cities. Insurance costs have tripled in vulnerable markets, pricing out middle-class families entirely. Homeowners in coastal zones are paying $15,000 to $35,000 annually for combined homeowners and flood insurance, and some properties are uninsurable at any price. Climate risk is no longer abstract. It's embedded in every financial metric, from insurance premiums to days on market to foreclosure rates. Buyers are waking up to the reality that Florida's sun and beaches come with catastrophic financial risks. The economic impact is brutal. Families who bought at the peak in 2021 and 2022 have lost tens of thousands of dollars in equity. Some are underwater, owing more than their homes are worth. Many are facing foreclosure as adjustable-rate mortgages reset and insurance costs spike. Retirees on fixed incomes are being forced to sell at losses and relocate to more affordable states. The dream of homeownership in Florida is turning into a financial nightmare for hundreds of thousands of people. But here's the reality. Armed with this information, you can make strategic decisions. You can avoid the traps. You can wait out the chaos. You can position yourself to buy when the market finally bottoms, whenever that may be. Knowledge is your greatest asset in a volatile market, and data-driven intelligence is how you protect your wealth. If this analysis opened your eyes, smash that like button right now. This is the kind of breakdown that could save you from a $100,000 mistake. Subscribe to Housing Intel for weekly data-driven real estate intelligence that cuts through the noise and gives you the truth. Ring that bell so you never miss an upload, because markets move fast and information is power. Drop a comment below and tell us, which Florida city shocked you the most? Are you buying, selling, or waiting on the sidelines? We read every single comment, and your insights help us create even better content for this community. We'll see you in the next video, where we're breaking down the markets that are actually worth your money in 2026. Because sometimes, knowing where not to buy is the best investment decision of all.